Thank you. I could probably talk about Calvary and the ACT for quite a while, but what I want to focus on is how we're trying to reimagine who we are and what we are to the people in the ACT, and for that matter, the country. Because when you hear Calvary and ACT in the same breath, sometimes people go immediately to the forced acquisition by the ACT government. And to say I've been stopped in the street, quite a number of times would be an understatement. It has, because I still live in Canberra, even though I spend most of my time in Sydney. It is still seen as a major issue in the city. It's still in the media some 15 months later. So it is a big issue in the context of Canberra. Clearly, it was a major issue for Calvary at the time. It's one of those things that was out of everyone's control, but it was a monumental issue. But what I'm constantly reminded when I look at the history of Calvary and the Sisters of the Little Company of Mary, it is a moment in time. And I think we've got to recognise that sometimes before we can actually move on. I think it is human nature, to change, and it's our responsibility, I think, to build and sustain a legacy that has been given to us by people in our past. And we also have to understand sometimes the environment we find ourselves in at that point in time, and I think that's really important. The Little Company of Mary Sisters arrived in Australia in 1885, 139 years ago. And we have, from then, built an organisation that goes right across the country, except for Western Australia. And these issues have come to us in different forms over that 139 years, and we have to recognise how the sisters dealt with a whole range of issues through that time. I think the challenges facing our sector at the moment are quite significant, and we heard a little bit about that yesterday when Blair Comley was talking. But our responsibility is that when people look back at how we reacted and how we saw what was happening to us, is to I hope they recognise that we did what our founding sisters have always done. We rejoiced in our success. We reviewed our role in contributing to our mission and reimagined the organisation to be that socially and economically sustainable health and aged care provider. It's another version of a story we've been through before, and I'm sure we'll go through it again. So I'll just take you through a bit of a history. So Calvary, or the Sisters of the Little Company of Mary, first started conversations in the ACT, or in Canberra, with the Commonwealth government back in the 60s, in the Harold Holt era. But it wasn't until 1971 that they signed an agreement with the Commonwealth of Australia around the establishment of Calvary Public Hospital in Bruce in the ACT. And it wasn't until 1979 that the hospital opened. That was the start of Calvary in the ACT. In the 80s, though, there was a real growing need for private hospital services, and 2 floors of that public hospital were then dedicated to the first private hospital in Canberra. In the 90s, we started to see more need for around palliative care. We started to grow our services there, and we signed the Crown lease for 99 years in 1999. Hyson Green was established, which is a mental health facility, and we really started to move quite widely into other services around the ACT. 2000s came along. We opened Clare Holland House, which is our hospice service, was our hospice service in the ACT, which was linked to Calvary Public Hospital. 2006, we acquired John James, which is another private hospital. So we started to use what we had as a base and started to expand and to grow. In 2007, expanded into aged care with the establishment of Hayden Residential Aged Care and Independent Living Village. Moving through though, the 2010 was quite a pivotal time, and really it was the first real challenge to Calvary's presence in that public service arrangement in Canberra. People think it all started last year in 2023, but it didn't. In 2010, there was this process around the sale of the hospital and all associated with the relinquishing of our operating rights of the hospital. It was a major issue in the community at that time, which ended up, quite frankly, in quite a big dust-up between Calvary and the ACT government at the time. All fell over. Major problems in both sides. Relationships were pretty damaged, I think, for quite a while. But what happened then in 2011, we established the Calvary Network Agreement, which was to set the pathway for the future of how we would continue to work together for the remainder of the 99 years, which was still about 90 years at that stage. One of the conditions of that Calvary Network Agreement is the government did want their public hospital back. So the 2 floors that we had for private hospitals, they said, no, it's got to be public because it's public property, and they started this line. So we said, righto, okay, we'll do the master plan. We did that master plan. Part of that, we expanded Hyson Green as well, because growing need for mental health services. And 2017, those 2 floors of private hospital activity became Calvary Private Hospital in Bruce, across the road with then a $77 million building, which had 150 beds. So quite a significant growth opportunity for us in that, but clearly linked to the work that happened literally across the road via an air bridge to the public hospital. A whole range of things started to go from that point, 2017, 2018. Language started to shift again, not to be Calvary Bruce anymore, but to be the Northside Hospital. And this started undercurrent played out for quite a few years. A lot of work went in with the ACT government, and we constantly talked together. We did joint planning. We created concepts for a brand new hospital to be built on the Bruce campus. We did all of that. And then in a surprise attack on, I think it was the 8th of May 2023, I got called to a meeting where I was told we were going to forcibly acquire the buildings and we're going to cancel your contract as of the 3rd of July. Legislation was passed into Parliament 2 days after that conversation. It was passed on, I think it was about the 31st of May, and we lost the hospital on the 3rd of July. That was a very, very confronting time for us. Not only did the public hospital go, but probably one of the things that hurt us most of all was Clare Holland House. We had done a lot of work in palliative care space, and that literally could not sustain itself outside of that public hospital environment. So we had to, again, shift our time. So what does that actually mean for Calvary, I suppose? In a lot of ways, not much. Yes, it's gone, but you can see from the 40 years we've been in Canberra, we built a whole range of other things. We were in private hospitals, aged care, independent living, home care. We had quite a vibrant business there. But the Territory government saw that they thought they could actually run it more efficiently because they'd bring it together. If anyone follows the Canberra media, that probably hasn't been proven to be the case, but I won't go there too much. We are obviously still working through a whole range of issues that relate to that, But organisationally, the brain power we were using to deal with all of the problems there are now shifted, and we can actually talk in a lot of ways, in a lot of different ways. There's one of the classics. I didn't use the one where the crane literally had the cross moving off the building, but that was an interesting time when that happened. It was reported very, very widely at the time in Canberra. Just some of the other activities we've done there. What have we been doing? We're redefining ourselves. We need to. There's challenges out there. We're doing that nationally, we're doing that everywhere. Our story over the last 5 or 6 years or so has probably taken us down some quite different pathways. In 2021, we acquired Japara, a very large aged care provider. It has fundamentally changed us as an organisation for the better. We are quite a diversified organisation these days. In 2022, we launched Kooyong development in Caulfield in Melbourne, which is quite an interesting integrated set of facilities that go from hospital to aged care to independent living. And we're now going down our home care strategy pathway around a digital type platform that allows us to integrate across all of our services and make sure we can connect the path for our patients, our residents and our clients. Through our legacy of being in Canberra, we know we've taken the expertise and capability in a different way for ourselves now. We have developed a broad service footprint in the ACT, but to make that work in our new climate, we still have to make quite significant changes and harness the ability to work with all of the different partners that we have to make sure we put our patients, residents and clients in front of everything we do. Like everyone, we're facing those real challenges, the tighter margins, the workforce issues, cost of capital, cost of doing anything, to be frank, at the moment. But for us, our mission doesn't change. It is who we are. It is Calvary Connected Care is the way we're looking at things, that's our strategic refresh there. I just want to share a story. This is some feedback we got just recently, but I'll just read that out. We are most grateful for all the care provided to our mum while she was at home. We are fully aware at times staff are faced with a difficult situation with mum refusing care. However, Carol and Joe, who were always professional, compassionate and kind when dealing with this situation. It is a credit to both Carol and Joe that we were able to keep her at home for as long as we did, as this was her wish. We've been most grateful for the whole Calvary journey, with admission to the hospital, referred to the Calvary home care, then admission to residential aged care. We think it goes without saying that the transition between services has been seamless and has brought comfort to the family, knowing she was part of the Calvary family during this difficult time. Her care at residential aged care was also delivered with compassion, professionalism and kindness, just as we had found the care through Calvary home care. All services that were provided by Calvary have really shown the mission and values in action, and as a family, we are most grateful for this. Please keep up the wonderful work, so on and so on. That's what gets us up every day. That's still happening in all of our services across the country, and it's feedback like that that really does, make our mission of being for others real. We get many of those sorts of feedbacks. This is one that sort of touched us quite a bit. I think it does also highlight what we're really trying to do through connected care and follow the journey of the person that sits at the middle of everything we do. So this is our vision, not in the ACT, this is our vision for Calvary nationally, is to actually provide that connection for people when they are at their most vulnerable. I think that's core to who we all are, but it's core to how we can actually improve the lot for people at the time they are most vulnerable. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Martin. And what struck me is the way you laid out what happened 15 months ago. A surprise attack, a forcible acquisition. You lost the hospital, and the hurt of losing Claire Holland House, and the significant change and growth that happened after that, putting patients in front, and that our mission doesn't change. And keeping Carol and Joe in mind and what they do every day to make a difference. Thanks for that.
One of the key things we did on the weekend before the hospital was handed over is we actually celebrated who we were. We didn't mourn the fact that tomorrow we didn't own. We celebrated what we were, how we operate, what we did for a community. And, we had people who came back, a number of our sisters came back, who were there on the opening day in 1979. There was hundreds of people turned up to this event on a Saturday afternoon in a freezing cold Canberra. It was absolutely cold because it's July, and July is a cold time in Canberra. But it was a great celebration. It was a really one of those lovely feelings that you get of being a leader in an organisation when you see all of this stuff come together. That's what really made me really proud of that group. Now, I've got, my daughter's got friends who work there, and then my daughter has got kids, they have birthday parties. I keep getting all of the feedback. And mind you, sometimes I'd like to not hear some of the stories, but that's okay. You hear the stories. Because people do feel though we signed up to Calvary, but now we're not. And a lot of them, as I said, have taken the opportunity to come back and work for us in different ways, which is great.
Thank you so much. Please, that was fantastic. Thank you very much.